If you're dreaming about becoming a content creator on the internet and leaving your job, making 10,000 or even 20,000 a month through content creation, then this is the episode for you. We took 4 creators, all of them at one point in their lives were stuck in the rat race. And through the principles and the frameworks that we're going to share in this episode, managed to grow a huge online following in a matter of months. So first moment, we kick it off with our first guest, Kane Kallaway. And let me say this, we've interviewed over 100 guests for this show. A ton of them have been creators. But when it comes to strategically understanding viral short form content and explaining how to go viral, Kallaway is the best I've ever seen do it. And so what you're about to get is the most replayed moment from our episode with Kallaway. So enjoy. Let's get into it. You'd done like a week of posting. You're like, several of the videos just didn't really hit.
Yeah.
And you make this joke. You're like, I still need to eat. Like I need to put dinner on the table. And luckily for me, like I know the exact formula for how to get something to go viral in short form video.
Yeah.
So if you were going to put words to what that formula is, what would you say?
Yeah, let's pull it up. You're talking about what I use for the messy video?
Yeah.
So this is what I use for the messy video, which I think this is the most consistent story framework that's worked for me. Now you may say like, okay, well, if you figured that out, like if you found the gold, why has every video you've ever made after that not gone viral? And the reason is a couple things. One, virality has a lot to do with what you try, but there's a lot of factors that are luck and like you can't control when the algorithm will pick it up. Did it get shared by someone notable? So there's some things you can't control. 2, my job is to try to experiment and find 10 of these so that I have a whole backpack full of stories that work. So I can't make every video the same exact formula because then it'll get dry. Like people watching my stuff will be like, oh, it's too predictable. And like the unpredictable nature of content is why people stick around. That's like why the dopamine fires. So I'm kind of like messing with it. The good news is at any time with the right topic, like usually some pop culture related topic, I can peel off 5 million views. Like if I want to at any time I can do that. Now, like we said before, there's strategically like who I want to become and what I want my audience to be doesn't necessarily overlap perfectly with the people that would resonate. So like I can make a Taylor Swift video and go 5 million right now, but Taylor Swift fans and like who I want my audience to be, which is entrepreneurs, creators, business builders, because that's who I am. That's like what I want to build long-term for. Those don't really overlap. So every time I do the Taylor Swift thing, I'm just building more fandom in an area that I don't want to double down in. So it's kind of like, it picks apart, but let's get into the story framework. So this is kind of how I laid it out. There's 5 pieces. There's the hook, the context, the conflict, resolution, and then last dab. So I'll go through each of them. So the hook, everybody hears the hook. They're like, the hook, everyone's talking about the hook. I hate like referencing it the same way everyone else does, but the way I think of the hook, there's 3 subparts to it. So at the beginning, if you go back to my beginning video, my early videos, I would do something that's very common with beginners where it's kind of, the first line is kind of like, I'm going to tell you about something cool today. And then the second line is when you get into it. Cut that, cut the, I'm going to tell you about something cool. The first thing you say needs to be like what you're talking about. So for the Leo Messi video, I forget exactly what it was, but it was like, Leo Messi just said no to $1 billion, something like that, right? So it's exact, like the first sentence you hear is something happened interesting. Then the second part of the hook is what I call the shocker. So you need to give some data point that supports that thing in a way that you'll never believe. So maybe the first sentence was like, I think it was Leo Messi just changed the business sports forever. That was the first sentence. The second was he said no to $1 billion. So that's the shocker where it's like 1 billion, like why would he say no to that, right? So your brain is like, Leo Messi sports, he said no to 1 billion. Right now you're like, I know what it's about, but why the fuck did he do that? And you're like, you're wondering. Then the third sentence is the misdirection, I call, and this works every time. You get them leaning, it's kind of like boxing, right? You get them leaning, you hit them with the counter. Like you get them leaning one way and then you misdirect. So their brain is like, what? So for that video, it was like, Leo Messi just changed the business of sports forever. He said no to $1 billion. Like, but he made the best financial move he possibly could, because you're leaning like said no to $1 billion. He's probably going to talk about why that was a dumb move. And then I hit you with the misdirection, which is like, it was actually a really smart move. So now you're like so intrigued about it because you know what it's about enough to stay. If you're a Leo Messi fan or football fan, but you're like confused. So that hook framework works every single time. So that's where I start. Then it's a dance between the context and the conflict, because this is like the meat of the post. You need to tell people what's going on, but you need to hide like mini conflicts inside, because the way your brain works psychologically is you want to close loops. So if I say like Leo, and I think Sean Purry said this, he said it very well. If I say like Leo did this, and then he did this, and then he did this, and then he did this, it's just one loop that's kind of, and you can predict when it's going to close, so you're not really interested. But if I say Leo did this, but then this happened, and why did that like then I'm opening separate loops, and you're like, oh shit, like I need these loops to close. And so you keep watching. And so it's really a dance between more contextual information and like little baby conflicts. The best way to introduce the conflicts is usually saying but something. So, or like, however something. So it's context and conflict. Then at some point you need to resolve, make sure all loops come closed. So like there needs to be a resolution. I think on the Leo Messi video is kind of like, he signed with Inter Miami, and that's good for him. It's good for Inter Miami. It's good for MLS. Like I kind of closed all the loops. And then this is something most people don't do, the last dab, which is the way to get videos to go really viral. The last thing you leave somebody with needs to hit them with like, whoa, like that was crazy, because your brain is so temporary that you won't really remember most of what I said, like, which is sad, but like, you'll know it was about Messi. You'll know Messi did something cool. You'll think maybe remember $1 billion, but you're not gonna remember anything else. So I gotta make sure the last line is just as good as the misdirection. And so the videos that I've done that have done the best have some like crazy thing in the last line. Like I made one where I changed my voice to Kanye and I like rapped a verse. Or actually, well, I did that, but a different video, because I knew I could do that with Kanye. I made a video about the music industry and AI, and it was all like, what's the music industry gonna do? Like, why are they thinking about this? And the last line was me changing it to Kanye. Like I did this like flicker thing and I changed my voice, and that little bit, people were like, holy shit. And so many people commented and shared because they're like, the last line was crazy. The last line was crazy. Yeah. So that's how I break it down. Is a good framework.
It's interesting. Stephen Bartlett spoke about it in his book, which is psychologically it's proven that every interaction, like things that are memorable to us, we remember how it started. We remember either the best or the worst moment, and then how it ended. Yeah. And so he even gives this example. He's like, if you're going on a date, right, with someone, like a first date, the only things that you actually really need to nail so that it's memorable and they want to go out with you again is like the pinnacle moment. So either like, obviously you want it to be really good. Yeah. Like they're going to remember either it's really good or really bad, and then how it ended. Yeah. So if they had an amazing date, but then the ending was like kind of awkward, it actually in your brain, you don't even remember that much of the amazing stuff. Exactly. You just remember, it was a bit weird.
You stamp it in like the weird category.
Yeah, it was the weird. Exactly. It was just weird. That's super interesting. Okay, so here's where I want to go with the short form stuff, and I want to bring it to what you were doing with your job, because I think there's a group of people out there who they've started doing the content stuff, and their dream is to go all in on that business and the content that they're building. However, there's almost like a pull and an addiction to staying in the job. Yeah. And so I kind of want to draw on two threads, actually. The first thing is that I feel like with short form content, there's a tendency for there to be a lot of like vanity metrics.
There is.
So like people are getting all these views, but it's not amounting to anything. Yeah. Like it's not building a brand. It's not making them money. It's not directing to a product. What was the thought process of even being able to leave your job? Like, what were you seeing happen where you were like, okay, I'm not just getting views, I can leave. Like I know I want to leave, but practically, like in a money sense, like looking at my account, I can leave.
Yeah, I think there's a few things to this. One is like what your situation is already. And then two is like the signal of what you're doing and how money's coming in from it. So maybe I'll start with the second one first. So I was getting like 5 emails a week from brands being like, we'll pay you $3,000 to $5,000 to make a short for us. And I was getting those a lot, and I did a few. So I was like, okay, I can like do the math on this. Like it'll work if those keep happening. And I figured if my following just keeps going up, the money will just keep going up, and like those brands will continue to be there. So that was one signal was like, I did start monetizing, right? So a lot of people will quit before they start monetizing or before they even know it's working. I wouldn't do that.
That's what I did.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you can do it. Podcasting is different because you know it's going to take longer before, like we said, you know it's going to take a little bit longer before you get the signal.
Yeah.
But for me, I was like, I guess once I made the jump, I was like, I'm not going back. I'm never going back. So it was easier to make it a no-brainer if the money coming in was like gonna replace the salary or like even close to it or even part of it. So I think that matters. TikTok also launched their creator fund, which started paying me 60 cents per 1,000 views on qualified views. So for reference, like if I have a video that goes 10 million views, I make $6,000 on that on one video. So I had a few that peeled pretty good. So I was like, okay, a combination of like that and the brand deals and like, I don't have any digital products yet. I don't have anything else. And it's like, it's going to work. So that was helpful. But I think the other side of it, what I said is my situation already. Fortunately, like my wife is in consulting. So like I had a rare situation where like she could support us both if we had to, which is like a good backstop, I guess. So I had that and like, you know, random stuff that I had been working for 8 years. So like I kind of built up to the point of getting to go. If you're 22 with no partner and you have no like, you know, that I understand I'm privileged for that. So like if you're 22 and don't have that, take that off the table. But the other thing I said is really important, which is I made these videos with a full-time job for 6 to 7 months before leaving. And I started making money before I left. So that's one way to think about it. But to be honest, like if you have even a little, it's tough to put numbers on it because everyone's situation is different. But I think if you have between 6 and 12 months reasonable expenses, that's all you need to go. Because what you really, if you really want it, like if you want it bad, if you have that dog in you, then if it doesn't work, if 6 months you burn through your expenses and you make no money, you'll just go get another job similar to what you had, save up 6 months and go again. And just, you're probably better off ping-ponging through that in your 20s than, you know, getting tempted with the golden handcuffs where you like stick with a corporate job and like ladder up and then your salary becomes like pretty good and you're like, oh, now it's a lot to lose. If you're entry level and like you're not making that much, but you like save aggressively, that ping pong, it'll work, right? Because you're, like we said, the fight or flight will kick in. You're so determined to not go back that you'll figure it out.
Yeah.
So it's a combination. It's kind of like people don't leave soon enough for the money they have in the bank. If you have fortuitous situations like a partner or whatever, that helps too. But also if you pick a vehicle where you can start monetizing more quickly, which I would say like YouTube short form would be that, then you can, you know, justify it.
Okay, so speaking for myself personally, I've repeatedly gone back to the viral framework that Kane just outlined in that video. It's so good. But anyway, now that we've heard from Kallaway, let's take it back to the foundations of your content journey, the beginning. And so if you're wondering how to find your niche and your style of content, and then how to stay consistent, let's go to our next guest, Nicky Saunders. She is such a pro at breaking this down. She's a content strategist who helped motivational speaker Eric Thomas grow from 300,000 to 2.2 million followers on Instagram. And Nicky just has such good advice when it comes to finding your authentic content style. It's really a game changer, especially if you're just starting out. And she simplifies it down to one question that'll help you figure out how to show up as your natural, authentic self on the internet. And so I'm not going to say anything more. Let's just get into it. How does someone get to the point where they're like, this is actually the way that I'm meant to communicate? For you, it felt like it was live was the right thing.
Yeah.
What are the steps that someone gets to where they're like, this is the way that I'm meant to post, and they can start to focus on that?
So I don't want to fight what comes natural to me, right? So meaning I have this like little exercise where I go, okay, at 3:47 in the morning, if someone wakes you up, you cold in your eye, like, and I say, yo, video, audio, image or written, what are you creating? Or like super random, somebody wakes you up, right? That's whatever your answer is, that's what you create every single day. Not necessarily from a standpoint of is this going to work or anything? The first thing you have to do is be consistent. And so when you are figuring out what comes natural to you, some is going to be video. Some people have no business being in front of video, right? In the beginning, not saying that they can't ever. And so even now, like I'm following a lot of people that are written first, then going into video. And some people are video first and going into written. I'm noticing now that you start with your natural, you get better with that, and then you expand your audience, because we start as a, some people are introverts, they may start as a written situation. And then as their brand grows, then they'll feel comfortable with the video side. But that may not be so consistent because that's not their natural. So they may do that once a week, break that down into several clips from vertical and all that other stuff. They'll work on platforms, but their written is on a regular type basis. Those people who are extroverts, they may be very cool with being in front of the video and camera and things like that, right? They may be able to do that a little bit more, hence why we'll see vlogs, hence why we'll see behind the scenes situations a little bit, right? And then they'll expand to other things. It goes always to, how do I feel comfortable being in my natural self? How do I get that 1% better each time? And where am I getting my inspirations from in order to expand on that 1%? It's never about copying. I love what Swiss Beats did, right? Swiss Beats, the hip hop producer. He goes, when I was first starting figuring out how to be a producer, I copied everybody, right? I had to get the foundation right. So I looked at all these other producers, and I would get their sound right, and then I would add just one thing. I would add another thing. And then that's where my sound came from, by having the foundation of these greats, but adding my swag to it. So once you understand what your natural is, it is okay to look at other people and build that foundation. Like they do captions. Let me get captions on it. They have a lighting at a certain kind of angle. Let me get the lighting. Let me get this particular mic and things like that, because it's not necessarily the equipment or anything that makes you look the same. Is what you like. It's what you're saying and what you're doing inside of this content that makes you actually stand out. Right. And so when we build that foundation of, here are my top 5 people that I see that I admire on social media. And I always go like, maybe probably like two or three that's inside of your niche. But then what is that, like 1 or 2 people that are outside, right? Because the outside is what's going to make you stand out. So I would, let's say, follow sports and what they're doing with content, and possibly bring it into talking about AI or social media, because people like what they're doing over there, but it's never seen in your own niche. So I can stand out in that kind of sense. A really good book that I read is like Still Like an Artist. Such a good book, because it takes away the pressure of like forever innovating. Like they said something in that book that is like, an idea, there's no original ideas, you just don't know the source of it, right? And so even like where we are right now, this looks fire, but there was inspiration taken from other places that they put their own swag to it, that you don't even know who the original artist, you just think it's them, right? So the importance of getting those online mentors, breaking down why you like them and everything like that, build that foundation, and then move off of your natural is so crucial in the beginning part.
Yeah, no, that's really good. I like what you said about start with your natural.
Yeah.
And the reason I like it is people even ask me about podcasting. Like I'm getting that more often now, like people that want to start podcasting.
I can imagine.
And I started to realize from my experiences, it's actually the wrong question. Like people will be like, oh, should I do a podcast? Should I get into podcasting?
Right.
And it's like, I think it's almost as if people want the hack. So they want to know, like, should I be on, and you'll hear a conversation like this, like, oh, people are going viral on TikTok right now. People are going viral on LinkedIn or Instagram or whatever. There's like this new trend that's like, you can easily get the result you want if you just do this.
Yeah.
And it's like the wrong question, because if you don't like speaking to a camera or speaking into a microphone, but other people are going viral, that doesn't mean that you should do that thing. Like, you need to start with what is the natural way that you communicate, which is why I love that test of like, it's 3:47 a.m. Someone shakes you out of bed. Yeah. Like, what is your first mode of communication?
Yeah.
Because that's what creates the longevity. That's what creates the consistency, which is where you get the success. Taking that on board, the question I know, and I can even like hear it, is you're communicating in your natural. So you're starting with your natural, you're getting 1% better each time.
Yeah.
Where are the followers? Where are the views? Where is the viral content? And here's even why I ask it. Content is very like feast or famine at sometimes.
Yes.
Like, we felt this, like, you kind of go from nothing to something.
Yes.
It's not like this steady, kind of when you're doing a job, I feel like it's more of like a steady trajectory.
Yeah.
Maybe you're getting like regular promotions, or you're just gradually getting better at your job.
Yeah.
With content, it's like you had nothing, and then all of a sudden it's a bunch of people.
Yeah. And
so that's the question that I almost hear once people kind of understand the start with the natural, which is like, okay, I'm communicating my natural self, I'm being my authentic self, but where are the views? Like, where's the audience, the engagement coming from?
Right. So the easiest, and what probably everybody hates to hear, is the consistency, right? Where eventually that 1% is going to start working. And that's where the algorithm of any platform, it's like a relationship, right? We meet, we talk a little bit, but we may not talk for another couple of weeks or so, right? With social media, I treat it like a human, because the more that you show consistency, the more that it's going to be like, okay, I take you serious. When you first start, they're like, I don't take you serious. Like, I got a whole bunch of other people that's been on here for a few, that they're every single day. You're still trying to figure it out. You're every other day. You're once in a while. You're once a month. I'm not taking you serious, right? But then I go with this play system, like the platform and leverage audience and you. So meaning with the platform, if you see what they're putting energy towards, so if we're talking about Instagram with Reels, when that first started popping up, everybody who put energy towards Reels because they saw Instagram was putting energy towards Reels went, right? It's like, oh, you listen to me, right? That, once again, treating the platform like a human. Oh, you listen to me. You see what I put on today. I'm going to pay more attention to you, right? So looking at the platform, seeing and leveraging the features that it has, okay, that's what I'm going to be doing. Then once I start getting some people in, and following me and everything like that, now I got to see what the audience wants, right? So now I'm going to create based off, maybe what they like the most. Even if you have I only have 20 likes or 20 views, but my average is about 10. I'm going to see what the 20 is, and I'm going to just do that again because my audience likes that, right? And so now I'm catering to what the audience wants so they can stay with me. And plus, they're my marketing team without paying for them. So if I can continue to create for them, they're going to share my stuff. So the platform is going to love on me because I'm paying attention to what they're wearing. Like I said, the features that they have, and they're going to push me out to the masses. My audience is going to push me out to their audience because they rock with me. But then I'm also going to be, the why part is you. I'm also going to be creating for me because I cannot necessarily only serve the platform and the audience and not serve myself. I still need to show a bit of me, or I need to experiment in some way, shape, or form, right? So this is kind of like the cycle that I go through when I'm like, okay, now I gotta grow. Like I figured out my natural, but now I gotta grow. I gotta play with the platform. Literally, I gotta figure out what platform that I want to be on. I got to leverage the features. I got to rock with my audience, and then I got to create for myself. And once I figured that kind of out, then the numbers started to come in, because it's just a cycle now. I'm doing maybe some of the trends, and the trends doesn't mean like I'm out here dancing. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean I'm out here doing skits and everything like that. It means I'm paying attention what the culture wants, right? What people are talking about. And I'm putting my own spin to it in my own niche, right? So a great example I used was when they had this clip of Hulk grabbing a villain and smashing him back and forth, right?
Yeah, from Avengers.
Yeah. So I said that was Instagram, and the villain was my content, right? Going back and forth, boom, boom, boom. Everybody related. They're like, yo, that's so true. But that hits kind of a trending situation. If that clip is going crazy, but I change it into my niche, the platform is saying, hey, you pay attention to trends. Hey, you use trending audios and things like that. I'm gonna push you out more, right? And then then I have that, and then I'm looking at my insights, and I'm looking at what my audience wants. And it's just like a cycle of that standpoint, and I don't get too caught up necessarily with the numbers, but I do understand that is what shows me that I'm on the right track.
So now you have an idea about what it takes to go viral. You also know about your niche and what kind of content you're going to create. Let's move on to one of my favorite guests this year, and that is Dom Ashburn. He is a creator that went from 0 to 100,000 followers on Instagram in just 22 days. I actually remember the specific moment he told me that he did that, and I couldn't believe it. And the story gets even more insane when you find out that ChatGPT helped him create all of that content that took him from 0 to 100,000 followers in 22 days. And so we just had to bring Dom on and explain exactly how he uses ChatGPT to go viral again and again on Instagram. Enjoy. If you wanted to get 100,000 followers in 30 days and you wanted to use AI kind of in that process, what would kind of be, if you were going to give advice to that person, what would be step one? Like, where would you even begin?
Yeah. Step one is to remove yourself. Step one is to remove yourself. All of the previous failures that I just told you about were because the content was about me. Nobody cares about somebody with 100 followers, 5,000 followers, whatever. It's not about you. Honestly, nobody cares about anybody with 1 million followers. It's still not about you. It wasn't about me. I started to succeed when I made the content about other people, helping other people. People watch things and they spend time on things that they believe is going to help them, whether that's going to entertain them or educate them or inspire them. So the first step is to just remove the idea that it's about you. Everybody tells me that they're worried about what people may think of them on their content, whatever, but also they worry about what they think of themselves. Their perception of themselves stops them. You hear so much, people say, I hate the way my voice sounds, right? I'm sure you've heard that before, or even we've all gone through it before where we hear ourselves speak for the first time. We're like, I hate my voice. I don't like how I sound, right?
Even how you look on camera, so many different things.
So many different things where you're judging yourself before you you're judging yourself first, and you're assuming other people are judging you. And in that moment, you're then judging them and thinking that other people would then be judgmental against you, which if we're on the internet, we know the internet is a ruthless place. It's pretty rough. So I understand that. But the first step is just get out of your own way. If you get out of your own way and remove yourself, then there's no I'm not valuing myself based on what you think of me. I'm valuing myself based on how many people I'm helping. So the metric changes. I'm not measuring myself by the judgment of others anymore. I don't care what you think about me. I just want to make sure I'm helping. And if I'm helping people, then I'm doing the job properly. I'm good. That's the first step, because many people just get in their own way before they even start. Second is to realize that you have everything that you need right now. We have everything we need. You have lived a life up until this point with experience and expertise in something that is going to allow you, that other people would find valuable. This is actually really uncomfortable for me, like just sitting here talking about myself and my story and everything. So I'm like, it's like I don't talk about myself in that way very often, but I'm hoping that through the process of talking about my story, that somebody else can relate to it and be like, yeah, I'm going through that right now and it may help me. So that's a path that you can take, is realizing that the story that you've lived so far, millions of other people have gone down a very similar path. Each one of us shares like 99.999% of DNA. We're very similar people. I celebrate individual uniqueness, but we're all very similar in many ways as well. So the way that you've lived, other people have lived that way too. So make sure that you celebrate yourself for that by sharing the stories and the things that you're going through. It'll help people. That's a very easy way to just start making content, is what you already have. I got 100,000 followers by only using an iPhone 13. And I only had like a couple practical lights, just like a lamp, and like, I didn't have like expensive things. And I had a very terrible microphone that was gifted to me by the editor on my production team. So I didn't need expensive equipment either. I just needed to make sure that I was trying to help people in the content, right? That's first. If you want to use AI to help you with this process, the first thing that you need to understand is that AI is simply a prediction machine. It's a word predictor. It's a large language model that's trained on petabytes of data from the internet, which is like billions of books, and it's predicting how words go together. That's all it's doing, right? So if you just ask it, hey, how can I get to 30,000 or 100,000 followers in 30 days? It's going to give you a very generic response based on the averages of the internet, right? What you want to do is give it some more information about yourself so that it narrows the words that it's giving you, right? If you're telling it, well, I'm a chef, then the information and the words that it's going to use, the lexicon is going to be a bit more narrowed to that slice of lexicon in the human language around being a chef, right? That's a very like generic, vague example. But what I would do is I give it information about what I actually do. Ask it. Say, hey, what information do you need from me in order to understand my brand? And go and just answer the questions that it asks you. And then you can say, okay, please export this as a PDF. Say, okay, it'll turn those answers that you gave it into a PDF. Take that PDF, and then if you're in like ChatGPT, I'm speaking on like if you're using ChatGPT right now, right? This is what I've been teaching people how to do. And if you're in ChatGPT, just go over to the left, hit Explore GPTs, and the top right corner, hit Create, and then hit Configure, and then go to the bottom, scroll down, hit Upload Files, and then upload that PDF with all the answers that you just gave it about your brand. Now it has a solid reference of information about who you are. Okay. Go up top, name it, social media GPT, whatever, and then save it. Go to the top right, hit Create, click Share, Only Me, Update, Save, and then go use it. And now when you're using it and asking questions about your brand, or what direction should I take? Or you can ask it, now generate me a social media strategy based on my brand. It's going to base it off of you, not just the generic internet, right? You can even take that strategy, do the same thing. You can then export that as a PDF, put that into the knowledge base. Now it has your brand, your brand and your marketing strategy locked in. You can start asking it more questions. You can ask it, you can even upload templates. So let's say you have a creator that you really love. You can go on Instagram, download the transcription from their content, and then just upload the transcription into the GPT and say, make me a template, a script template based on this piece of content. Take that script template, upload it as a knowledge base, and now you can say, generate me a script in my brand using that template. And it'll use that template, but make it in your voice. Now you have some data. Now you have some information that you can use that's tailored to you. If you do that enough, while at the same time uploading screenshots of your insights from Instagram, it'll connect the content that it gave you that you recorded and posted with the insights and the performance of that content and start to make those connections. And over time, it'll learn your brand. And it'll start to give you some insights that could be personally valuable to you. That was the process that I use and that I teach other people.
Okay, no, that's really cool. Okay, let's get even deeper with it. And I love the way that you started, which is before you even get to ChatGPT or the platforms, Instagram, YouTube, whatever it is, it's actually almost like zooming out and starting with yourself.
Yeah.
And I think it goes back to what you mentioned earlier about like kind of this scientific method of starting just by asking questions, start by curiosity. And so it's like everyone that's listening could just ask themselves the question, if I just wanted to provide the most value for someone based on my experiences, my skills, what I know, what would I share?
Yes.
And that will kind of give you a start point, which rather than starting with, I want to look cool on camera or, what's going to get me views, which is all like, it starts with you. Start with the person on the other end of the screen.
Yes.
And so I think just as a foundation, that's a really valuable place to start before we even begin the conversation about AI and ChatGPT. Once we move to the AI stuff, I think and we've had conversations about this even prior. I think one of the things that opened up my mind when I was speaking to you about AI and ChatGPT is that you treat it fundamentally different than 99.9% of people, right? So, and this is, and I know because I'm in the 99.9% of people. So this is what we do, right? We go to AI, we kind of almost treat it like, I don't know, like Quora maybe? Like you ask it like a very direct question. You give no context really. You ask it a very direct question and then you want the answer. Or like Google almost.
Right.
You just type it in Google and
Right.
treat it the same way.
Right.
I want to go viral on YouTube.
Right.
How do I go viral? Hey chat, how do I go viral on YouTube?
Right.
The way that I saw that you do it, it's actually like a conversation.
Yeah.
It's almost like a dynamic conversation that you're having with AI, where it's actually learning about you. You're giving it all of this context. You're asking questions. You're giving it answers like back and forth. And you're almost building, it's like personalized to you. And I actually think that is a mindset switch that people need to kind of make around AI to get the value that you've gotten from it. Can you kind of you can speak to it even better than I can. Can you kind of explain that? Like the mindset switch of rather than question answer, it's actually a conversation. It's always building and you're adding in new information, new data. Speak about that.
Yeah. So if you think about your relationship with anybody, or you think about hiring an employee for your company, most people think about artificial intelligence like Google, like you're saying. I think about artificial intelligence like a friend that I've just never met before, right? I'm trying to give them information about me so that they can then give me more value based on their expertise. However, this friend knows everything that's ever been on the internet, right? So if I ask it a generic question, it's going to give me a generic answer. Everything in the world is based on balance. Everything in the universe is based on balance, like we were talking about before, right? And whatever we get in, we get out. We breathe in, we breathe out. Everything in the world works this way. So we have to think about things as in good data in, good data out. If you're asking it a vague question, you will get a vague answer. If you are giving it very specific information, you will get a very specific answer. The way that I think about my relationship with AI is the same way I think about my relationship with the world, with myself and the universe. what I give it is what I will get. And that's a very stable foundation to think about artificial intelligence. I try to tailor its responses as closely as possible by giving it the information that it needs to help me. Anybody who has hired an employee can then use those same foundations that they've used to hire an employee and train somebody on a specific task to also use artificial intelligence in that way as well. So what you give it, you will get out. And that is a very good framework for understanding how to communicate with AI.
You know, I want to make it even more real for people. So let's say that I've done step one, which is I have clarity on what value I can provide to the world. Like I know what the value add is.
Yeah.
And now I'm looking to integrate AI within that in the content creation process. You mentioned that you will like tell AI the questions to ask you. Like, what are some of those? People don't really understand how to put the prompts together. Like, what is even an example of like a prompt that you would give ChatGPT at an early point so that you can kind of start this collaborative process?
Yeah. Okay. So there's a process of computational thinking, which is essentially understanding the many steps that it takes to get to the outcome that you want. So if you have an outcome, let's say, give me an example of an outcome that you may want for your business.
For my business or content creation?
Either. Yeah, let's say content creation.
Content creation, I want to get 10,000 followers in the next 10 days.
10,000 followers in the next 10 days. Okay. So if that's your goal, first we need to state your goal, right? You need to write that down. Make sure you know what you want. AI is a really good mirror for you to understand even what it is that you want. Now we have a magic wand that we can wave and prompt whatever it is that we want in the world, but you have to know what you want first before you ask. So knowing you want 10,000 followers in 10 days, okay, that's your goal. Now there's many steps now that are going to come from that. What you can say is I think that people may even overcomplicate it. Put in that goal and then ask ChatGPT, what are the steps that I need to get to this goal? Just ask it that. What are the steps I need to get to this goal? Okay. Let's just do it.
Let's fill it out.
Let's just do it.
Like a live workshop it.
Let's just do it. Let's just do a live workshop real quick. Okay. So 10,000 followers in 10 days.
Yeah.
I'm putting in here, I want 10,000 followers in 10 days. Okay. And then I'm going to say, what steps do I need to take? Actually, on what platform?
Let's do Instagram.
On Instagram. Okay. In 10 days on Instagram. What steps do I need to take? It says you're going to need a strategic and intensive approach. You're going to need to optimize your profile. You're going to need to create high quality content, engage with the audience, leverage Instagram features. Okay, so now we have this, run contests and giveaways, whatever. Now that we have this, now there's many steps that each one of those are going to take, right? So now we're going to break that down, optimize the profile. Well, if we need to optimize the profile, the first thing is bio. Now there's many steps to then the bio. Now we're going to break that down. You get to this realization through going through these things is, oh, well, I need it to like, what am I supposed to write in my bio though? Then if you say, well, hey, GPT, write my bio for me. It's going to be like, like, I don't know.
I don't know anything about you.
I don't know anything about you. Right? So then you get to this wall where like, okay, this is where I come in. Give it the information that then it's going to need to then take care of these services and do the steps that it needs, right? So you wouldn't tell your employee, hey, go. You wouldn't hire somebody that knows nothing about your business and then tell them to go do a task.
Yeah.
You need to give it some information about you. And people overcomplicate that process. Open up the AI, start using it and asking it the questions that you have, that you would ask the best expert in that field. Ask it that question, ask it the steps it needs to get there. If you come to a point, ask it what information you need from me in order to do your job properly. It'll ask you those questions, fill it out, give those answers to the AI, and then have it do the rest of that work for you. It's an iterative process. I talk about circular relationship with AI, where this is you, this is the AI, you're going around and around. You're giving it a piece of information, and then it's going to give you a response. Based on the response, you give it some information, and it's a flywheel. It should go back and forth. Everything in the universe works that way, just like a back and forth, in and out, circular process. Give it the information, get a response, and go back and forth with it. It's much simpler than people like actually make it out to be. And soon, AI will just be invisible and intuitive to the point where you can give it a task, and it will have the agency to go and act on these things for you. That's when we get to like AGI and super intelligence and things like that. It'll just start taking the action.
Man, Dom is so good. Final moment, and we had to give you this. So we've covered everything you could imagine when it comes to making great content that people love. But the one thing that is missing, and it had to be in here, is what about making money from your content? And so for that, we had Zita come on the show and break down how you can make $20,000 a month as a content creator super fast. And so for context, Zita has gone viral numerous times on Instagram. He built a following of over 150,000 followers in just 12 months. And he also teaches people not just how to build their following, but also monetize their following. And so we took the most replayed section from the episode that we did with Zita. It's literally where he breaks down his step-by-step blueprint on how to create a content funnel that turns views into paying customers and gets you to that point of hitting $20,000 a month. And so take out your notepad and watch this moment very carefully. You won't regret it.
Let's start right in the beginning. Let's say I'm working a 9-to-5. I don't have a product. I don't have a business. Like there's nothing that I'm selling right now.
Yeah.
What is step one on that journey of getting 20,000 a month through content creation?
Yeah, you have to first figure out kind of what you want to sell and how you want to make money through content. Now, there's 3 distinctive ways to do it. Number 1, you can go about and just go down the route of just making money through sponsorships. Like I have a friend who is in Toronto who does like street interviews. So he's entertainment content, right? So he's not going to make any money really from selling his own products, but he's going to make money from sponsorship because he gets views. And that's what a lot of these people do. Like, if you ever seen the guys who like, actually, he was famous down here, Caleb Simpson, for like, how much is your rent in New York? You seen him?
Yeah.
Yeah, think about how much money he's made now, but he's not making it from selling his own products. He's making it through collaborations, partnerships. A lot of these entrepreneurs that you see on his TikTok, they're probably paying him so then they could just be seen to more people, right? So he's making money through that. So you have to first figure out, well, what kind of content do I want to make and what do I want to make money from? So if you are just more in the entertainment aspect, like you want to make entertainment content, you want people to watch your videos, then you want to go down the route of making money through sponsorships. If you want to go down the route of selling something, well, then you need to first ask yourself, well, number 1, do I have a particular knowledge or skill set that someone would pay for? Now, I believe everybody does. Right? Even though you're not an expert in whatever you're doing, I truly believe you can grow a $20,000 a month content business just teaching people how to go from level 0, like which is like no knowledge in anything, to level 4, right? Out of like let's say a level 10 scale, right? You don't have to teach someone to go from 0 to 10, an expert. Just teach them to go from level from 0 to 3 or 4, and people will pay you to learn that. So I believe everyone has a knowledge or skill set. Some people believe they have no knowledge in anything. So let's say you don't have no knowledge in anything, right? Then what you can do is you can actually partner up with creators out there, coaches, companies, and products, and just help sell their product. It's basically almost like affiliate marketing. But what you would be doing is partnering up with these products. Now, I recommend digital products because usually for digital products, you'll have a higher percentage fee. So for example, I know a company that sells their program for $2,000. And if you help sell their program, they'll give you a 50% commission fee, which basically means every sale you make $1,000 out of that $2,000, which is pretty good money. So you can go ahead and start creating content just to sell this person's product. And then they take care of everything. They do the sales, they do the fulfillment, they do most of the marketing. They're just going to kind of tell you what to post about. So that's the first way you go about it. If you have no knowledge or skills, go ahead, sell someone else's product, find a product with a high commission fee, and then just make content on it. That's really all you have to do. Now, if you do have a knowledge or a skill set, and again, a knowledge or a skill set could be something very even niche. Like I had a student who just signed on with us who she wants to help companies just improve their customer experience. That's her area of expertise and skill set. And that's a very niche thing, right? Improving customer experience. But a lot of companies will want that because that means clients are retained longer. It's more lifetime value and they'll just make more money in the end. So if you have a knowledge or skill set, then you need to go ahead and start figuring out, okay, well, how do I want to make money from this? Now, for most people, I recommend doing different levels of access to you. So I call this basically what's called the product ladder, where you first start by selling probably a low ticket product, maybe something between the range of $20 to $150, like a course, right? Where you're basically teaching people your knowledge. Now, when people buy this course, that requires no time from you, right? You just make the course, people buy it, whatever, you're kind of just moving on. Then what you do is, now I have the belief that when someone buys from you once, they're more likely to buy from you again. So then what you want to do is you want to sell a higher ticket access to you, which is maybe a group community, like a school community. Like you've probably seen school communities. So you sell this, let's say a group coaching for, let's say $500 a month, $100 a month, whatever. And then that's more direct access to you where you're answering people's questions. Maybe you're doing weekly calls. You are just giving them more templates, more resources. The group is just more access to you rather than the course. And then you sell an even higher level, which is one-on-one direct access to you where someone works with you directly to help them learn that skill set or knowledge. And that you could charge anywhere from like $3,000 to like $5,000. So I believe when you create this product ladder, really you just create one product and then you just sell different access to you. And then once you have an idea of then what you want to sell, then it becomes, okay, content creation, right? How do I get eyeballs on this? Now, I believe in creating what I call the content funnel because there's a lot of creators out there who have a lot of followers. In fact, I had a creator reach out to me a few weeks ago who had over 400,000 followers. And she asked me if she needed help making more money from her content. And I was curious. With over 400K, I was like, well, how much money are you making? And she told me she was only making like $4,000 a month out of 400,000 people. And I was like, how is that even possible? You tell me you can't sell a $1,000 product to like 5 people or more? But then I took a look at her content and everything became clear. She was creating the content where it didn't show any expertise or trust from her. It was just like broad, dumb level content that will just get views and get you followers. And that's the problem with a lot of creators today is that they're focusing on this vanity metric of followers and views. And really followers and views don't mean anything. It's not gonna, if you don't know how to correlate that and create true fans and all that, you're not gonna make any money from it. Because we're now living in a day and age where I think anyone can go viral on Instagram. It's now more about, well, can you establish trust really? Views and followers isn't going to equate to sales anymore. So when you create this content funnel, there's 3 types of content you want to create to turn your followers into, let's say, ready to buy customers. The first piece of content you want to create is that engagement style content that is broad, dumbed down level content. Usually for this type of content, it's like listicles. It's like giving out a hack, giving out tips. Like to give you an example, it would be like, here are 5 tools that will help you create better content, right? That is like an engagement piece of content where it's very dumbed down. You don't have to, be in my space. You don't really have to know much about content to like know the tools and all that. And those posts goes extremely viral. And the reason you want to create those pieces of content is because you want followers in this ecosystem because it doesn't matter. You shouldn't be creating the other 2 pieces I'm about to mention if you're not creating that first one because then you have no followers. So the goal is first try to get a viral video, try to get views so you have people in this ecosystem through this engagement style content. Then you want to create what I call authority style content, which is The goal of authority style content is to turn those followers from the engagement content into actual true fans. And to do that, you're showcasing your expertise, you're giving insights, you're giving your hot takes on things in your industry, you're giving out custom frameworks, you're giving out step-by-steps for desired results. You're just giving more like intermediate value and talking about your story and just making people more relate to you. And that gets people to more buy into you, buy into your character, and be like, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about. Let me start watching more of his content, more of his content, more of his content. And that's going to create true fans. Then lastly, you have what I call sales content, which is more just showing off results. So showing any testimonials, showcasing your own social proof. If you have any clients or student social proof, showcasing that. And when you showcase social proof, it just helps convert those true fans into people that are now ready to buy your product. Now, to actually get them to buy your product, there's a multiple different ways you could do it. I like creating what I call an automated sales funnel, which is basically setting things up in the back end where you're taking this viewer who is interested in what you're selling and you're nurturing them. You're showing them that they have a problem that should be solved right now. And the way to solve that problem is through what you're offering, your product, your solution. And the automated sales funnel can be multiple different things. Usually for most people on Instagram, it's like a lead magnet to an email sequence to a sales page. But there's many different ways that you can do this funnel. So that would be kind of a little like 5 minutes, I would say, overview of how you could do from 0 to 20K a month. It's just figure out your product ladder, right? How you can sell different levels of access to you. That way you're not creating a bunch of different courses or different products. You're creating one product. You're consistently improving that product and then just selling more access. You're creating this content funnel with a mix of engagement, authority, and sales style type of content to turn those followers into ready to buy customers. And then you're creating this automated sales funnel on the back end to turn these people that are interested in your product into actual customers.
Okay, one more thing before the end of this video. 2025 is going to be such a big year for you. And so before we get out of here, I just wanted to say thank you so much for supporting me and this channel for the last 12 months. We started this year with less than 10,000 subscribers. We've gotten to over 120,000 subscribers. But even more than that, I'm so grateful for all the messages, the comments, the likes, all of the support that I've gotten on this journey. It's actually surreal to me that we're even at this point. And so thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Let's make 2025 your year.